A lot of the work that we have done really centers on what has been going on in Idaho for the last 30 years, right? None of this is new. None of this is surprising. I wish it were, but it's been the slow and steady drip of constant erosion of norms that have led us to the moment that we're at right now. And it is a really existential time. We were going out to communities in 2016 and asking people, what hurts? What would make a difference in your life, that of your family, and your community? And we went to places that were being radicalized by the far right because we knew that unless we had real people power where people live, we weren't going to make an effective difference at swaying the folks that are representing us in this house. And so that was incredibly successful. It was really eye-opening because we think that we know who people are until we actually ask them, right? And all of that was really wonderful. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is the way we're going to organize. And then COVID happened. Um, and we had access to a text-based program. And so it was a departure, but we knew that we had to be reaching people in whatever way that we could. And so we enlisted, and you'll like to know, mostly counselors and social workers at the time to reach 1.2 million people in the state of Idaho over a 9-month period. And we said, how are you and your family doing? How are you holding up? How are you making sense of everything that's going on in the world? Well, I should say that our texting is that we don't script text. It's not like a normal text you would get on your phone. You'd get one question. How are you and your family doing? And then you'd be coupled with another human being for the duration of that conversation, however long it took. And over 9 months, we had 789,000 conversations with Idahoans stretched across the state. And most of those conversations were 7 to 9 exchanges back and forth. Over 9 months, less than 1% of people opted out of receiving our texts. It was unheard of. And it really rocked the organizing world in our country about how we could use digital tools to reach people in rural communities. Fast forward to the 2020 election. And like you, all of the things that you mentioned, healthcare, housing, all of the things that we know that we need to survive are things that I've dedicated my life towards working towards. How in the world did half of our country just decide that that is not the path that they want to go down anymore? And I just was really grappling with that. I was also really grappling, we do a lot of national work, grappling with the idea that we know better. We know what rural people think, right? We know why the election went one way or the other. Or when we think of places like Idaho, we just think red, rural, and racist, right? And we think they're not worth it. We don't need to go talk to those people. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Yeah? Kind of painfully, right? So we did something really radical. We transitioned our texting program again. This time we created a 64-page searchable narrative guide to really talk about, and this is very much social work, right? How do we have conversations across extreme difference? How do we grapple with the complexities and the nuances of our lived experiences and the things that may divide us, but maybe some of the things that unite us too? So ours is the only program in the country, perhaps the world, that couples folks with ideas like ours with folks who are being radicalized by the far right. And we do that through a initial text question that says, our country may be more divided than it's ever been. What do you think is causing this? And what has happened has been unbelievable. I had no idea. It's been 4 years now. We have reached 1.4 million people across 12 states. We have had 789,000 conversations. These conversations last days and weeks at a time. Now, why would we do such a thing? Why would we think it important to reach out to those people? Any ideas?
Don't know until you ask.
Well, you don't know until you ask. And if we're not there, who's there? The only information that folks are getting who are caught in those echo chambers are from the very forces that are organizing them against all of their self-interests, I might add, but in an ideology that is anti-democratic, I would say anti-human, anti-humanistic, and we have to be there. We have to step into zones of discomfort. We have to step into the breach. Now, I'll say that a lot of people that do this outreach, they come from all over the country, and most of them, many of them, are white. And we thought that that was a really critical part of the work that we were doing, because there's a lot of performative white allyship out there, folks. And what we need to do is we need to really be understanding how do we show up in this moment in a really powerful, meaningful way to help curb the tide of the rise of authoritarianism that, frankly, in many ways may be too late. But 4 years later, here we are, and we've learned a lot. So every conversation that we have, our folks have, gets coded by a set of, we wanted to understand, like, what is it? What is it that is really under, what is the undercurrent of what is driving people to reject democracy? To fall in love with Russia, to embrace, authoritarianism. How is that happening? Right? And so we have data points, over 300 data points that get applied to every conversation. They tell us somebody's only if they say it, only if they self-declare, self-identity, affiliation, their biases, their perceived greatest threats, their perceived greatest risks, and their trusted sources of information. So that we can start to understand and make a case to the rest of the world that, no, actually, if we're meeting people where they are and we are listening to them, they're telling us what it is that they care about and how we can organize in those ways. The other part of this is that it's text, right? So that everything gets downloaded verbatim. So if you can imagine the narrative analysis for understanding how sentiment shifts occur, and if I say something this way, it actually had this result. But if I met somebody just with facts and figures and tried to prove my case, then they actually more deeply entrench in their own preconceived ideas. But we can see that. And then we can create models for how to organize, and not just organize, although I would suggest that you are all organizers. Um, we had people who were social workers and counselors coming to us saying, how do we get involved in doing this outreach? Because we have clients coming in that are talking only about the political constructs that they're facing. They are talking about the fact that they are estranged from their families. They're talking about the fact that they are ostracized in workplaces, that they don't feel a sense of community. And we don't know how to deal with that. Like, that was not part of the training for how do we deal with, mental issues when somebody comes to see us. And yet, that is where we are as a country and is an epidemic at this point. So that's just a little context of what we have been doing. And it's the largest set of data that's ever been discovered anywhere in the world at this point. I want to remind everyone who's from Idaho that this was an Idaho project. Um, and so never, ever underestimate what people who are organizing and doing good work in Idaho can do when you break outside of the box of what folks tell you you can do, to dream and think differently. Don't ever, ever, ever let anyone take that away from you. Some of the most inspired, incredible projects come from places just like ours. Let me give you an example of kind of what happens. So, first question I would ask all of you is, when is the last time you changed your mind about something really important to you?
Sweet.
Okay. Was it because someone told you to? Was it because someone made a really compelling case or presented you with facts and figures? Sometimes maybe, right? But I mean, I'm talking like serious, like, change. Most of us don't. It is some emotional experience that we have, some way that allows us to see the world from a different vantage point, that allows us the ability to change, right? I think one of the failures of the movement, the progressive pro-democracy movement today, is that I think we have not really contended with the fact, a couple of things. One, our proximity to the political party. That is not helping us, right? Our power is in people. Our power is in all of you standing up, looking to your side and saying, wow, we are more and bigger and better and more impassioned than anybody is. We just have to come together, right? No party is going to save us. No party will save us. And this is a time for us to find our collective voice and to build public outrage in a way that actually moves people. Because as well-intentioned as we all are, and I know we are, how we want to see the world, how we want to see people thrive, this is strategic. People's lives hang on our action or inaction. It is deadly, deadly serious. And so we need to be as serious about the way that we approach conversations. So if most of us have never changed our mind because somebody told us to, or presented us with all the right facts and figures, why did we? And so that is what the heart of our program is. So often we will say something like, uh, you know, Alicia, our country may be more divided than it's ever been. Why do you think that is? And Alicia might say, well, Adrienne, it's all of the Black people. And unfortunately, we hear that a lot. So our job as justice warriors, as social warriors, is to understand that dynamic. Understand that we are not in a power-sharing dynamic. We have to actually build it. And the way that we build it is we respond with endless questioning. Remember that as you have your conversations today. So I might say, well, Alicia, that's really interesting. Would you mind sharing with me? When was it that you first started developing your ideas around race? What did your life look like? What were the influences that you had? Were there things, moments, experiences you had that shaped you, that reinforced those ideas for you? And have you ever had moments that contradicted those ideas and caused you to think about that perhaps a little bit differently? It is never what we say. It is never, ever, ever what we say. It is giving people the opportunity, the grace, and the space to have a transformation. It is what they tell us. It is how they justify the belief that they are good people who hold the same values and yet believe this. It's not our job to convert people, and it's not our job to tell them that they're right or wrong. It's our job to open up space for them to see how that is actually not beneficial to them or the people they love and doesn't actually really jive with who they want themselves to be. So this is an entire program. I hope that you all will join because you can do it virtually and it gives you practice. It gives you the ability to have these conversations across the country in ways that are safe and allow you to explore with your own voice and to figure out, how do I reach people who have been told that they're unreachable? It's really interesting because the first thing that people tell us when we reach out is no one from your side has ever reached out to ask me what I think or feel before. At the core of all of us, people want to feel seen, heard, and valued. When we start creating litmus tests for who we want to be seen, heard, and valued, for who belongs and who doesn't, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. We shoot ourselves in the foot, folks, because we simply do not have the people that we need. And I have to believe, and I believe this of the faith tradition as well, if we are sitting in these rooms, we must believe that people are capable of transformation. We must believe that people deserve an opportunity to change. It isn't easy. It isn't easy. But when it happens, it's really remarkable. So we did outreach to Idahoans across this country or across the state, and in a study, 800 Idahoans, it was 25 exchanges back and forth. When we first talked to them, the scale is -1 is hostile, 0 is neutral, +1 is positive. Okay? Our folks, our fellow Idahoans that we reached out to, came in at -4. But after 15 exchanges back and forth, they moved to neutral. And from 16 to 25 exchanges, they moved to positive, often thanking the person that had reached out to them because they'd never had an opportunity to talk with somebody who had our political beliefs. Never felt like they'd been invited to a conversation to explore the complexities of some of the things that they didn't have the opportunity to do in their own lives. Transformation is possible, but we have to have the courage to step into the breach and to do the hard work. I would also love you to think about maybe some tough conversations that you might have today. And some things like, well, what if they say this? How might I respond? Because you have the power. Each and every one of you has the power. They sit in an office and they are held by their loyalty and their affinity to those who would seek to dismantle our power. But you are standing in purpose. You are standing in purpose. And you are standing together to make those voices heard. So what can we do to help make sure that you are the best possible orator of that experience? And that we, again, be strategic because we understand what this work is. It is about the longevity of our democracy, the dignity of our people, and our ability to live. Because our initial training is module-based, you can do it on your own time, but you'll also get a whole network of people across the country who are grappling with these very things to support you. So if you're doing texting, you can also get into a program where you're like, hey, you guys, I'm just really struggling with this text. Can somebody help me? A lot of our folks actually say that they've been more transformed by doing it than the people that they were intentionally trying to reach out to. And report incredible progress at finding common ground and making those inroads. I guess I would say that I believe that we all have a responsibility. You know, we didn't just end up here. Millions and millions of people came before us, paved the path for us to be on it today. People died for the rights that we enjoy today. And people depend on the rights that we will ensure for them in the future. It isn't just about us. And I think it's really sad to think about the fact that if I'm only in this for me and what I get, it really diminishes the human experience. So you may not think it's your job, but you'll wish that somebody else had done it when you no longer have those rights that you thought you would have. It doesn't matter how big or how small. If every single one of us does something in this moment, we will create ripples that will change the course of history. It's our duty. It's also our honor. For all of those people that got you to this room and all of the experiences that you have trialed and tribulated through that allowed you to be here right now. For all the people that we don't know who are suffering and who will continue to. It is our duty to rise to meet this moment, to be wise, to be strategic, and to become powerful. So powerful that they dare not try to take these things from us ever again. Thank you.